coming from work, I run in to see the tank, and then I go see my wife, see if she's okay.
You see what takes priority in this house? The tank and then the wife. Oh, and then you got the dog too that you have to.
Dog. I've got to see the dog as well.
Yeah, well, I think the dog comes see you before you.
Yeah.
That's the one that greets you at the door.
Yeah.
Right. But okay, so you wound up in that slump.
Yeah.
What took you out of the slump? What was it? Because I've had slumps too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a little story, but I want to hear your story first.
You have to love reefing.
I want to hear your story first.
So it was a few years ago. I was working from home. I never normally work from home, but I had to do like an online course. And I was sitting at the table, and I could see the tank, and I thought, I've got to sort that out. It was covered in algae. I couldn't see the fish. I was like, I've got to sort that out. So every time I had a break, I would clean a little bit of the glass, and it was like really stuck. It was really on there. So I started cleaning it, and it wouldn't come off. So then I thought, I'll order some blades. So then the next day some blades came, and I started scraping it, and it started looking a bit better. And then I started thinking, oh no, it looks all right. Maybe I'll get it cleaned up, because my wife's always doing video calls from home, and she's complaining that it's a mess.
It's unsightly.
So the only time it ever got cleaned was when she had a video call. I was like, oh, all right, I'll clean it for you. So it started to look a little bit better. So then I started pulling a couple of the bits that were left in there that had died, and I thought, oh, it's looking a bit better again. So I thought, I'll get some salt, I'll do a couple of water changes, get the algae down a bit. And then I started talking to my wife saying, oh, it's an expensive hobby. I don't know how I ever afford it.
You were trying to reason.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'll start with some softie. I'll get just some softies and have a nice softie tank, because there's some stunning. I don't know if you've seen ASE's softie tank. Is incredible.
Oh yeah, that tank is. I have a video of it.
Yeah.
I find it absolutely fascinating.
And the movement. Again, I don't have a lot of movement because I've got a couple. I've got like a couple of the gold torches. Got some gold hammers, green hammers.
Right. Acropora.
But I thought, oh yeah, so a softie tank would be nice.
Right.
So I started cleaning it up. I started doing some water changes. I'd start cleaning the sand, because the sand is all solidified. So I was like hitting that to get that all broken up and cleaned. The phosphate kind of started coming down, and then I started thinking, it's starting to look better. And then my friend Chris, actually, he offered me some frags. He said, come round. I don't think I'd even met him at this point, but I used to chat to him on Ultimate Reef all the time.
Right. Okay.
And he said, oh yeah, let me know what frags you're after, and we'll sort something out. I was like, oh, okay, well just let me know what you want for them. And he's like, don't worry about it. Let's just get you started again.
Yeah, that's how pushers get drug addicts,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, come,
Yeah.
I'll give you some of this, and
Yeah.
then you're addicted.
Yeah. So he was super generous. I'm still forever grateful. He's the reason why I got back into it. And he was like, what do you want? So he gave me a bit of Setosa. He gave me a bit of stylo. A bit of, I think I left with like 15, 20 frags. He's just like, take them. Let's get you set back up again.
Wow.
And I started putting them back in, and then that was it. Then that was
You were hooked again.
yeah.
How long has this tank been here?
So I initially set it up 10 years ago.
10 years
So,
ago.
I was telling you earlier, when we bought our first house, my only specification was I want a wall that I can fill up with fish tank. I want it 8 foot. I want it 2.5 foot high. I was originally going to go for 2, but then I saw a guy's tank that was 2.5 foot, and it just, it's just a bigger window.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, no, it looks great. And like, if you've got it on a wall, why, it's a bit harder work, but it's fine. I enjoy working on it, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so it's up and running 10 years now.
10 years, yeah. So the rock has not changed in 10 years. I think I might have taken one rock off the top because it was a little bit too high. But yeah, the actual tank has been in 10 years. So it was built by a company called Windsor Aquatics. It was this old guy called Keith.
So it's a custom build.
Custom built, yeah, because I couldn't get it through the doors. So I built the stand myself. originally had a friend of the family who was a welder, and he said, if you get the bits, I'll come and help you, and we'll build the stand. But then he disappeared. And he vanished. And I was
Of
like,
course,
oh,
he
God.
offers and then he goes, I'm not sticking around for this.
And then it got to about a week and a half, 2 weeks before Windsor were going to come in and actually build the tank on site. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I got on YouTube, and I borrowed a welder off my brother. And yeah, first time I'd ever welded a stand together. Got it in, did all the electrics just in time for them to cut. I think I was still up at like 2-3 in the morning the night before, trying to sort all the electrics out under the tank before they turned up the next day, and built it all on site.
And it's interesting because this is before 40-20, right?
40-20.
So 40-20 is the aluminum piping now.
Oh yeah.
So,
way before that.
Imagine if you had that available at the time.
Oh yeah. So
Instant system.
Yeah,
I mean, instant
all my
stand right away.
My options were wood or steel box section.
Right.
That's what the options were then. All my other tanks I built wooden stands for, but I just wanted something a bit more solid for this.
Right, for something as big as this.
Yeah, it takes up less space.
So how many gallons is this? Or how many liters is it?
It's I think the tank is 1,200 litres and totals 1,500 litres with the sumps, which I think in US gallons is about 400 total.
Right. Walk us through the water drains
Yeah.
on this side.
Goes
Obviously,
down
that's
there.
the overflow.
Yeah.
So explain to us what is the process of your filtration system?
So overflows into the settlement tank. Any excess sediment just sits in the bottom, and then when I do the water change, that gets mixed
Flushed
up and flushed out. That tank has 2 overflows into the next sump. One goes into the filter roller, the other one goes down next to the skimmer, and then I've got my heaters in there, and then my return pump, and then my return pump feeds my refugium, and it feeds my Rotophos reactor. So it kind of recycles back. So I've only really got one pump running everything.
Oh, okay. So you have it recirculating through your refugium reactor,
Yeah.
and then return?
Oh, and my UV. I was running a UV, but I managed to split the casing, so I need to buy a new one desperately.
Okay,
But,
so let's figure this out. So it drains into your first sump,
Yeah.
where you let the settlement occur,
yeah.
and then that water runs off into your filter roller. What filter roller do you have?
Currently a Red Sea.
Okay, and why do you have the Red Sea over all the others that are out there?
So I went for the Red Sea just because I liked having a nap. That was the only reason really.
Right.
I
It is an amazing app because, I mean, we can all badmouth Red Sea all we want, but I think they did a marvelous job with their filter roller.
yeah, I hear a lot of good things about the top up as well.
Oh, the ATO?
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the ATO. It is by far the best ATO on the planet. Everything else works in either infrared, optics, float, valve, and you can have issues with all of them. Just let Salt Creek get on any of them, and it's over. They're not working properly.
Yeah.
Float valves will jam because of salt creep. The optics will get salt creep on them. They won't work. It's just a nightmare. Whereas this ATO from Red Sea has multiple functions, right? So it has a probe with titanium stubs. So there's a minimum and there's a maximum. And the water stays in between those 2 titanium stubs.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another titanium stub underneath it in the water all the time that measures your temperature.
Okay.
So now and it's titanium.
Yeah.
So if it gets dirty, not a problem. If it gets salt creep, not a problem, right? Wow.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting the pump sending water into the system because of the 2 titanium stubs. It's giving you water temperature. which one's giving you that? On top of that, it comes with leak detection. How can you beat that? One device, and then it has an app.
Yeah.
And that app actually has a log, and it tells you how much water your tank is evaporating on a daily basis. What other ATO is giving you those kind of results? None. None. I mean, okay, can the probe go bad? All probes go bad, right? So we can't say that. I haven't had any issues in the shop as far as the probes are concerned. I had a customer who came in, and I wasn't there that day, and the girls sold him an ATO from Tunzi. And I happened to be in the shop 2 weeks later, and there was the gentleman bringing it back because it wasn't working properly. It turns out that it was a defective unit. So I said to him, "Why didn't you get this?" He goes, "Oh, it's too much money." And I said to him, "Hold on a second. Did you see the value in this?" And after I explained to him what we just talked about, all the pluses to why this is just not one device, it's multiple devices, plus giving you a log of everything that's going on, how much water you're using. He said, "I'll get it." And really it just comes down to showing the value, right? You show the value of the product, the customer will say, "Yeah, it's going to cost me more, but if it leaks, I'm going to get notification by text, by email, and the damn thing beeping."
Yeah.
You hear that beep, beep? It's annoying as hell, but at least there's a problem. And what's the problem? Oh, there's a leak.
Yeah.
And the app will tell you, right? So, I mean, all these little things on just that one ATO, I think is the best ATO. I just hope that, this isn't advertisement. I'm not a big Red Sea fan, but you got to give credit where credit is due, okay? They may have issues elsewhere, and I don't get into the politics, but the filter roller, amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine the filter roller will send you an indication, a notification. Hey, your filter roller is about to run out in 5 days.
Yeah.
Who else is doing this,
Yeah.
right? And a log, how much of the filter roller you're using on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was it really. It was just the
So
app.
that's what convinced you to get it. Okay. off my soapbox. Let's go back to his tank. You have the filter roller. What else?
The Delta skimmer.
So you have a Deltec protein skimmer. Which one?
Yeah, it's the 2561.
Okay.
So
It's a pretty big one, right?
Yeah, I think it's rated to 3,000 litres, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's overrated for this tank, way overrated for this tank.
But it works very efficiently, right?
Yeah.
Despite because you split the drain, you don't let all the water get filtered through the filter roller.
No, I don't want it to be too clean. I don't want to take. I see a lot of tanks that people are having to dose nitrate and phosphate now.
You circumvented the system by having some of the water go to the filter roller and the other go to the protein skimmer,
Yeah.
so the skimmer stays efficient.
Yeah, and it was also kind of the tank's been set up longer than filter rollers have been around as well. So it was never designed around filter rollers. So I've had to kind of shoehorn it in around what I've got already.
Okay.
I didn't want to start changing all my sumps out to filter everything.
To accommodate a filter roller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems to work. It seems to have.
No,
it's-
no, your water clarity is stunning. I can see straight across to the back, clearly, 100% clearly. And during the video, you'll see some close-ups and all of that of the tank. But yeah, so what else do you have down there for filtration?
That's it really, apart from the ketomorphia. Yeah, no, that's it really.
Right.
Yeah.
And you keep the algae for diversity, or
Yeah, so-
do you feel you need it?
I probably don't need it. When I rebuilt the tank a few years ago, and my nutrients were way off the scale, I thought it's an easy way. We'll put some keto in there. I've only got I think I've got like a cheap Amazon Chinese like grow light LED little tile thing on it. It's probably not getting a lot of light. That'll probably make a difference. And it grew quite quickly then. I started off with just like a fistful, and then the tank filled up. But now, as all the corals have grown out and the nutrients have gone down, probably don't really need it. It's probably taken out more things than I wanted to be taken out. Yeah, I might experiment. I might take it out. I don't.
Well, also you have critters living in the
Yeah, I've got
Cheetomorpha.
lots of amphipods and copepods in there, which are feeding my wrasse. So, yeah.
Nah, see, that's an advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in this tank as well. Your copepods and amphipods are in the tank as well. However, they know better than to come out during the day because they get slaughtered,
Yeah.
right? So they stay hiding, and probably at nighttime you come with a flashlight, you'll see them creeping around.
Yeah.
But there's also a breeding ground that you got going with the Cheetomorpha. It's a nice breeding ground for them,
Yeah.
that they don't feel like they're
Yeah.
going to be preyed upon and stuff like that.
There's loads in my frag tank as well. So I say I've just started collecting zoas. I can't keep zoas in the tank because the angels just eat them straight. I think my record was 3 days. I managed to keep a zoa in there, and it came in on another coral. It was like an orange oxide or something, and they just hadn't spotted it. But I'm keeping zoas in the frag tank now. But they're constantly closing up because they're getting amphipods and walking over them all the time.
Oh, okay. So, is it all the angelfish that are eating them, or is it?
I think the Regal Angel is the worst for it.
Right.
The Regal Angel will, every time I add a chalice coral, the Regal Angel will eat the outside edge, and it will eat all
Of the chalice
mats
coral.
every time,
Oh my God.
and then we'll never touch it again. So it'll absolutely decimate it, and then never touch it again. So far I haven't lost any. I then got a bit cocky and I tried to add a jelly bean chalice, and it didn't leave that alone. Obviously, the more expensive they are, the better they taste.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know.
It's
So-
like the escargot of chalices.
Yeah. So that's in my sump now, and it's starting to recover.
Right.
But yeah, the Regal Angel, but it's such a stunning fish.
Yeah, it is. You have the yellow belly at that, so that's
Yeah.
really beautiful, because there are two varieties. There's
Yeah.
the blue belly, and then there's the yellow belly.
Yeah.
The blue belly you pretty much get from the Philippines to Indonesia, and the yellow belly is Indian Ocean to Red Sea,
Yeah.
and they're stunning, absolutely stunning. Have you seen those mist bars?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anything with a mist bar, now you're talking about extra money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it is a beautiful fish. You have your filtration down pat. Now you're also dosing Reef Zlements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you dosing, and how often are you dosing it?
So I'm dosing my part 1 and part 2 every half an hour.
Every half an hour.
Yeah.
Wow. So how much are you dosing in there, like weekly?
Well, daily it's around 140 ml of each part.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite a lot. But obviously, the more you dose, the more of all the other traces you get in as well. It's all in balance, which is useful, and then I
Right.
just tweak what I need to tweak. And then other than that, it's I dose aminos.
Okay.
So I do aminos and vitamins.
Okay.
So, just in small amounts.
All right. So I personally think that your tank is spectacular. It's borderline perfect. I wouldn't change anything, but because you've lived it and you know your weakness for the tank and your strengths for the tank, if you were to start this all over again tomorrow, what would you change on this system that you would do differently than what you have now?
I changed the weir. I probably have an external weir because the weir takes up so much space. You know, you need quite a large weir for this size system. So I'd definitely have an external weir.
Okay, just so everyone understands what the weir is, it's the overflow box.
Yeah.
Right. No, some people don't know what that is.
Oh, okay.
I have mentioned that. So I can't remember where I was, and I said that, and they looked at me like, "What the hell is that?" And I explained to them, "Oh, that's another name for the overflow box, the skimmer portion of it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the overflow box. I think it's about 12 inches by 5 inches. So it's just a big box in the corner of the tank, really. And that's.
Would you do it external?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think nowadays, because of all the new technology, I look at many tanks and I've seen many beautiful, gorgeous tanks. You know, you go to Inner Zoo, you go to Reefapalooza, you go to Macna, you go to any of these shows, and you see all these big, beautiful tanks that are available for sale, and you see an overflow box inside the tank. And you know, there's no need for that anymore. There really is none. You suck up so much real estate that you can use that real estate for something else.
Yeah.
Or you're putting this box in there and it's killing your flow. Because the flow is coming this direction, what's it hitting? A wall.
Yeah.
And then how does it divert around it? And then the other flow coming this direction. Whereas if that's not there, you're going to get circulation going, as opposed to bumping into a wall.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I have the tons down the back, because there's just where that wall is, there's just no flow at all. There's flow everywhere else in the tank apart from that one spot. So I've got that, which kind of pulls the water, pushes from one corner. And you can see when I turn all the other pumps off and just leave the tons, you can see it just circles around the tank.
Right.
So that's the thing. That's the main thing I would change.
That's okay. So go ahead.
The only of the D&D tanks have got quite good weirs. They're the only weirs I've ever seen before, because they're kind of thin and long.
Yes.
But I still prefer an external weir.
Yeah.
You know, but again, the tank's 10 years old, so I can't beat myself up too much, because they weren't really a thing at the time.
Right.
I'd like to go wider as well. I would have liked to have gone 3 or 4 foot front to back.
Oh my God.
But it's just what I could fit in.
The only thing you would change is the overflow.
Yeah, pretty much, I think. Maybe have a bigger refugium with some better lighting, just to save on phosphate remover. But
so the lighting on this tank, what's?
So currently it's 6 Radian Pro Gen 5s. I had previously, I was running the Hydra 52s, the originals, and they were great. I had them running for about 7 years.
Right.
Then I was starting to think I'd like to maybe upgrade the lights, get just a bit newer. So I was kind of looking at what I could afford, because lighting is super expensive now.
I know.
Especially for a tank when you need 6 fixtures. You know, you're looking at way more than my car's worth.
No, it's amazing now. I mean, I just did a review on the GNC, the Blu-ray X and the Blu-ray XM. They're both spectacular lights, and the technology that they're using. I'll be honest with you, the GNC lights will be the technology of the future,
Yeah.
because they took the technology of LED lights to the next level.
Yeah,
And they're very expensive.
yeah,
They're not cheap.
no.
You
I
know?
like the panel lights. I think panel lights is probably the way, rather than pucks. Panels, I think, is the way people are going to go. Seems to be the way most new fixtures are going.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like the GNC.
GNC,
Yeah.
the Blu-rays X and the X is the larger one, and the XM. I call it X, and then XM, X Mini.
Yeah.
So XM is for the smaller one, and
Yeah.
then the bigger one. And I put it on a Nios 300, and I had corals that would not open up under the current lighting that was on it.
Yeah.
And I won't say what light that was, because it's not ethically right to do it. But I'll tell you that when I put the X on it, I had corals opening up that didn't open before.
Mhm.
And when the customers came in, the first thing that they noticed, and it's funny because I didn't notice it until I was told, no shadows. No shadows. And that's one of the big problems with a lot of LED lights,
Yeah.
the shadowing. There was no shadows. And I said, yeah, but you know, it reminds me of the T5 lighting from the past,
Yeah.
because the light is spread out so evenly on that tank. And it was just the X on this system, and it looked spectacular. But again, so expensive, these lights.
Yeah. So I originally set it up with really cheap T5 fixtures. They're actually grow fixtures for agriculture.
Okay.
And they work great. I can't remember what they were called. Light Wave, I think they were called. And I set it up with two of those. But again, there was maybe 10 bulbs in each fixture.
Oh my
Looking at
God.
like £20 per bulb.
Right, and you're changing them out, what, every 6 months or every 10 months?
Every 6 months, really.
Yeah, because their intensity drops
Yeah.
as that phosphorus burns.
Yeah. And then I went into AAC for the first time. Their original shop, the small shop that they had.
Yeah, I remember that shop.
And I saw.
They had a Deltec in the window, right?
No, I don't think that was that. It was a big tank in the back, their original display tank. It was
Right.
the best tank I'd ever seen at the time. It was incredible.
And then he had the frags that he was. I remember going
No,
into
he's got
his,
the big tank he's got now is the Deltec. I think it's like,
right, but in the old shop it was in the front somewhere.
yeah, maybe.
And then I remember the first time I went to his shop, and he said, "Yeah, these are the frags that we sell." And I said, "Those look like colonies."
Yeah.
I mean, they were huge
Yeah,
colonies that he
these-
was selling his frags.
Yeah, and all grown there as well.
Right, exactly.
Fantastic. Yeah, exactly what we need. So I went in there and I saw he was running the Hydra 52s, the original Hydra 52s, and we got chatting about it. And I was thinking, you know, I'm coming up to another bulb change. Like, is it really worth investing money in the bulbs, or is it worth going for the Hydra 52s instead? So I ended up getting 5 Hydra 52s.
And was it enough for this tank?
It was, but because of where my my brace bars, so I've got 2 brace bars, so there's 3 even spaces. So
Right.
5 didn't really work. So
Oh.
I ended up getting 6, so I could have 2 over each
Right.
section. Yeah, so I went to pick them up a couple of weeks later, and yeah, fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, LED lighting is probably one of the LED lighting and ICP, probably some of the best things that have happened.
Well, I also think the advent of DC pumps.
Yeah.
I think that was a monumental leap forward, because when I did volume 1 of the book, it was all AC pumps. And when I did volume 2, that's 10 years later, but by the time the book got published, it was 11 years later, there were DC pumps. And now to be able to control your pumps via an app,
Yeah. Yeah.
the flow, as opposed to the old days of a ball valve.
On off.
No, the ball valve
Oh right, yeah.
to control the control the flow.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you played with that ball valve,
Yeah.
sometimes it just wouldn't. If you went just a hair one way, it went
Yeah.
totally bad for you. If you went a hair the other way, it was too much.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now you had a DC pump, and here's the best thing: with the AC pumps, if they were internal and you used them in the sump, they heated your water.
Yeah.
Those pumps were running so hot
Yeah.
that they would heat your water, and some of them would actually melt inside your water.
Wow.
I remember pulling out Eheims and Lifeguard that were warped. The plastic was warped because it got so hot.
Yeah.
Whereas now with the DC pump, the drivers are outside,
Yeah.
so that heat stays outside,
Yeah.
and the pump is running efficiently and not providing heat.
It's a
inside.
lot safer as well. Having 10 volt DC, 12 volt DC,
Exactly.
in 24 than
Yeah.
230 volts
Right.
AC here.
Right. God forbid your
That's
GFCI doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because every tank should be set up with a GFCI. Every single tank should be set up with a GFCI. If something is leaching water, it's going to shut off all the electricity, and you go one by one until you find what was the source that, like heaters today. Heaters are the biggest garbage there seems to be out there right now. There's some good heaters out there. I'm not saying that, but everybody's always looking for the economical way, and these heaters that are economical are horrible. They're totally like falling apart inside the tank. And you put your hand and just you feel the electric current, especially if you have a cut.
Yeah.
You feel the electric current. If you're healed, you don't feel it that much, right? And so the advent of these products actually changing, right? DC pumps. I think DC pumps was one of the biggest changer. If you were to share your 20 plus years of wisdom being in this hobby, what advice would you share to the audience to keep them on the right path, or to help them get to the right path? What are your suggestions?
I think the biggest help would be to find a local fish shop that looks good. So I'm very lucky. I live about 35 minutes from AAC, and just if and they've got to have a display tank as well. If you walk into a fish shop and it doesn't have a display tank, you have no idea if these people know what they're talking about. And it's the same online. If you're taking advice from someone online, always make sure you can see their tank.
Right.
It's all very well seeing really confident people confidently giving advice, but not being able to back it up with a tank.
Right.
So if you can find a fish shop like AAC, and you can take their advice, and then don't start trying to add advice from lots of other people, it's
hate
never
that.
going to work.
Yeah, I hate that whole, take a big pot and start making soup, and then take this guy's ingredients, that guy's ingredients, that guy's ingredients, and all of a sudden you just have a mess.
Yeah.
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 And then you ask the question, oh, I got this problem, how can somebody help me? And then you have 3 different answers. Go to the one with the success and listen to them, and they will guide you. Because, my book proves it. There's 40 tanks and tanks from around the world, reef tanks from around the world, and all 40 different methodologies of systems, different methodology of work. So if there are 40 different tanks in there and they all operate differently, take a look at someone who has a great tank, like you said, And having a shop like Paul's, I mean, Paul has probably 4 or 5 display tanks, maybe more,
Yeah.
right? So he has the big D&D old style tank, and it's magical.
Yeah.
Then he has a softy.
Yeah.
Then he has
He's got the little D&D tank in the corner with chalice and flasheras.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he also has the non-photosynthetic
Yeah.
tank with
Yeah.
corals that he has to feed.
Yeah. He's also got a nano tank on the counter as well.
So you look at a shop like that, you have a good idea that they're going to guide you down the right path, and you can take their advice to the bank because they're proving to you the success. And what's great about it is anytime you go to that shop, those tanks don't change,
No.
right? They don't go from looking great to 2 weeks later looking like garbage.
Right.
The tank are consistent, which means they're consistent with their philosophy. Listen to, and you're right.
Yeah. And then support them as well. It's quite a niche hobby, so when we get a good LFS, you've got to try and support them as much as you can as well.
Yeah, the internet has done a lot of hurting to the LFS. However, the LFS, and I said this a long time ago, if you can't beat them, join them. That's the only way. Because if you think that you're going to beat the internet, that's not going to happen. So, you know what? Join them. Become part of the collective and you'll do fine. But, Paul is very much on social media, right? ACC is on social media. Every platform, he's on there.
Yeah.
And I think that's advantageous to his philosophy in business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, just learn. Just don't make the mistakes I did. And but you're going to make a mistake. Just don't beat yourself up too much.
What's your biggest mistake?
Rushing. Don't rush. So learn before you buy a fish.
Right.
These are living things. No matter what it is in your tank, if it's alive, you've got to look after it, and you've got to know how to look after it. So just because it's a coral and it's not looking at you and thinking, it's still important.
Right.
You've got to try and you need to know
Do the
how
right
to keep
thing
it
for it.
alive. Yeah. If you're going to take a life into your possession,
Right.
you'll try and keep it alive.
Yeah. Be responsible.
Yeah.
We, whether it's through propagation or whether it's through bringing them from the ocean, bear in mind that there's mariculture now. So mariculture, wild, or fragmentation from captivity, we have a responsibility to these animals, and we should do everything in our power to try to provide them with the proper home and the proper conditions in order to make them succeed. I mean, again, take a look at the milka. There's I'm pretty sure there's more milka on land than there is in the Red Sea. And why is that? Because we've been very successful in keeping these animals. So if you're starting out new, listen to the wise. Don't jump the gun. And you're right, patience. Patience is very important. Any last words before we go?
No, just thank you for coming. It's incredible. 10 years ago, when I was reading your first book, I never thought I'd be sitting in my kitchen chatting about my tank with you. It's
thank
incredible.
you.
So thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of VargasReef Chronicles. Stay tuned for our next episode. Subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. And until next time.
You have to love reefing.